Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tool, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our TGT phone-in show. We've done these fairly regularly actually across the January transfer window. I think this might be our third one, and that might not seem and sound regular, but trust me, for this channel, that is fairly regular. But what we have been doing is we've been doing these, of course, around the January transfer window, with the reaction show to the Leandro Trossard news, and of course with our next signing. We didn't do one for Kivior, but we are doing one for Jorginho, who has been announced as a brand new Arsenal player, signed on an 18-month contract with the year to extend for a fee in the region of £12 million. That has £10 million of that as a guaranteed fixed fee. It is a deal that has divided Arsenal fans online and certainly has caught the attention of, I think, the wider footballing community. Is an interesting move that has drawn both criticism and praise. And so in our phone-in shows, and I'm going to explain the rules of this very, very shortly. What I like to do is obviously get kind of varying opinions, of course. But I know that there are a lot of people that aren't happy about this, aren't happy about Edu, aren't happy about Arsenal. And I kind of want to hear from that side of things. I do really want to hear from people who've got criticisms. I have gone back and forth on this. What I'll tell you to do is, if you want to get involved in the phone-in show, the link is in the description. If you have joined or you've been waiting, you may need to refresh your screen to see where that link is. I'll post it in the chat box as well shortly too. So if you want to come on, here are the rules. You need to be 18 or over is the first rule. You need to have a webcam. You need to have a quiet place to record. We've had people tune in from some mad places in the past. So yes, please do make sure that you are in a quiet place with a good internet. And that's how you can get involved. So yes, and once you are in our live chat, there's like a private chat on the right hand side of the screen which you can use to let us know that you're here. And also, if you can give some background on the position that you have on the player as well, that would be really helpful for me introducing you. We're going to get on with that shortly. As I say, I want to give you kind of a bit of a background on how I feel about Jorginho, so you guys kind of know the context of things. So yes, at first, as I explained when I was on with Harry Simew earlier on, I was, it's fair to say, shocked, a little bit disappointed with the whole situation. And then I slept on it. And this morning, I am feeling more reflective about it, and certainly in a position where I think that it makes sense in my mind why we've done this. And I can see the positive side of this deal, but I know for many that isn't the case. And so I do indeed want to hear from people that are not particularly pleased with this situation. I want to voice their thoughts on this. We're going to start off with good friend of the show, Pablo. Pablo, how you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
Hey, Tom, how's it going? You good?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Very good indeed. As good as I can be on a deadline day. I've been busy as hell. I've been up 6 a.m. Of course, there was no 8 a.m. show today because I've been working since 6. But yes, I'm feeling all right. How are you feeling about this deal? About a fellow Brazilian, of course, plays for Italy, but has got his Brazilian descent. It's important to remember.
Yeah, I'm not as excited as I was about Martinelli, Jesus, all the Gabbies and every Gabby you can think of. To be honest with you, I actually look at this as a bit of a panic buy.
Okay.
Yeah? Reason being is obviously we had our targets that we went for. Yeah. Couldn't get them for one reason or another, obviously outpriced, and then Chelsea come in with ridiculous sort of fees and stuff. So for whatever reason, we wasn't able to get our main targets. And I think we left it so late on in the window that I know people are saying, oh yeah, but Arteta has always wanted Jorginho to come over. Yeah, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like you getting an iPhone 1 instead of getting the new one or 6, whatever it is. Yeah?
That is hard.
It is, though. It's like you sort of, the problem is they kind of built you up. It's almost like you make a Christmas list, yeah, and you put your new iPhone down, and then all of a sudden your parents come in with 3-year-old iPhone. Yeah, it's going to disappoint you. And that's how I feel at the moment. I understand that he can be good for us, yeah. In case this is hurting me. This is hurting me, Tom.
I just can't believe you described him as an iPhone 1.
It's that sort of disappointment I got, anyway.
Okay. You've contextualized this. Let me kind of put a question to you then. The obvious places to go is what did you want to see happen realistically?
Someone a bit more in the profile that we've been going for recently. I know we can't just keep going for younger players, but someone at least in their prime.
Yeah.
Sort of trying to, just in case, because the way I look at it, I know that Partey is the main player, and he might not get injured, and Jorginho might not play again for the rest of the season, but if he does get injured, then the person that we have to rely on is Jorginho, and I just don't think he's the right person. I don't know, someone maybe a bit more younger, mobile, more athletic. I mean, the thought of him and Xhaka playing centre mid together, I reckon I'll be able to run past him. Yeah, that's how slow it will be.
I'm willing to bet you couldn't.
Actually, no, I probably
agree with you, Pablo. I know that's not
true. So that's my issue anyway. It's just that I'm thinking of the worst case scenario here.
Yeah.
And if the worst case scenario is that Partey's out for a long period of time, Jorginho, maybe 2-3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been right over the moon, but would have been slightly happier. I think at the moment now, his form and sort of everything about him is speed, which he didn't have much of in the first place, and everything else is sort of going downhill. And this is when we're bringing him in, when we're fighting for a title. I just think is like panic last minute. Let's just bring someone in to fill the boots.
Yeah, I absolutely empathise with the concerns, and I think it's fair to raise them. I think from my perspective, I look at this deal as something that is, in the final days of the window, the best of a bunch that we could have got, really. And the criticism I have of Edu in this window is the speed at which we've done deals, and the speed at which or the lack of speed in making some of the decisions in this window. That would be my criticism of the window. With Caicedo, Brighton didn't want to sell. Brighton did not want to sell. I think we could have gone to 90, 100 million, and I still think they probably would have said no, because as I've described, like, to them, keeping him and potentially getting into European football is worth more than any real amount of money we could have given them in this window. And then when you look beyond Caicedo, I'm struggling to think of in terms of options. And when I say struggling, I mean, I've liked Bamba as a potential option, available apparently as according to Fabrizio Romano for just like 8 odd million quid, during this window, which would be a very, very reasonable figure for a player, I think, of his talent. However, when I've kind of taken a step back from the Jorginho situation and also considered the context of our situation, I go, if we played Man City tomorrow, right, and Partey's not available, would I rather have Bamba, El Neni, or Jorginho starting that game? And for me, I'd rather have Jorginho starting that game because he's Premier League ready. He started 15 games for Chelsea already this season. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking that in the context of what we are needing in this window, knowing that we couldn't get that Caicedo level figure in this window, it makes sense that we've done this type of deal.
Yeah, I get that. I do get it. And like I said, the option out of, say, Bamba, Lokonga, or Jorginho hands down. But surely at some point during the negotiations with Brighton, Arsenal would have got the hint that, hang on, they ain't going to sell. Yeah, they've already sort of come out and said, we're not selling. Yeah. So at that point, I know what they're thinking to themselves. Okay, well, money talks. So let's keep throwing money at it and eventually they'll crack. But knowing the fact that they said that they won't sell, you should already be looking at options B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that wasn't done. Me personally, anyway, I just don't feel like that was done.
I know you've already said, like, you don't particularly know who's someone more in a style, but, like, you know what I'm like. Yeah, I love evidence. I love people coming have arguments they can back up. And I have to ask you, if it wasn't Jorginho, who would you go for? And I'm gonna pressure for some names, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But someone like Neves, I'm sure if they think money talks, I'm sure we could have offered Wolves enough money to be able to prize. If we would have done it early enough to prize Neves off them, yeah, he would have been one that I would have really liked. Again, doesn't play the same. Actually, no, I was going to say Tielemans, but forget that.
Plays deep midfield.
Yeah, he's still in midfield, but I don't know. So, but even Tielemans would have been. I personally think he's a better player than Jorginho. Yeah,
I just think that Tielemans is an 8, not a 6. That's the issue with Tielemans, isn't it? Like,
I mean, an iron about him, but yeah. So
to be honest, I think you made a decent shout in Neves. If we've got the money for someone like Caicedo, and you throw 50, 60 million at Neves, I think they'd probably accept that. The question you have to ask yourself is Neves the right signing to invest that level of money in for what we want from that type of player. We're looking at signing Declan Rice in the summer, and they still apparently want Caicedo. These are two players that are going to be in the team for the foreseeable. If you sign Neves for 50, 60, 70 million pounds, it's probably going to stop you from signing one of those two players, if we're being real. It could even potentially stop you from signing Declan Rice because he is more of an out-and-out six, whereas Caicedo is versatile enough to play in both positions. So would you have been okay with that?
To be honest with you, I don't think we're going to get Rice. I know it sounds really negative. I don't. Because,
no, it's fine.
Majority of the sort of first choice players, although we've done really well with the alternative option, i.e. Jesus, Shevchenko, and all these guys that we went for somebody else and ended up with like Odegaard, whatever. We've done really well, but our initial first option, even now in January as well, our first options we never seem to want to get because normally our first option is wanted by the big spenders as well. So then someone like Rice, if we then start making headways and trying to get them, unless we sign them pre-summer window, I think as soon as the summer window opens and other clubs realise that it's available to go, Man United will jump in the bandwagon, probably City, probably Chelsea, and then all of a sudden we're getting outpriced. And then we've ended up with Jorginho instead of Neves now. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a 50-50, really.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I think that Neves obviously is a good player. I think there was a point made in our private chat by one of the listeners was waiting. Stefan says, arguably, Wolves wouldn't have even let him go if we'd have bid big because they're, I think, level with 18th place in the Premier League. And, the likelihood of letting him go at the end of the window when they're in a relegation scrap is difficult to see. I think it's a fair option. For me, I agree with you in terms of the disappointment of where we're at in terms of what we could have got. But I'm also understanding of the fact that we had to get someone in. But we absolutely had to sign a midfielder. And when we're going into a Premier League title race, which we are in, we've managed to get in a player that Arteta has wanted for a hell of a long time. It's put to the point where he's still willing to sign him past those years of his top level. Two, he's a step forward of the existing options that we had and the ones that now are no longer available in Elneny's injury. And three, the guy that we've signed is available to come in and give an immediate impact should he be called upon. So I guess the time will tell, Pablo, in terms of it. I'll ask this to everyone that comes on before we wrap up. But what would you give the window out of 10?
I'll give a 6, probably 6,
okay.
7. Yeah. Well,
I'm
I'll
7
give a 6,
for context.
Actually. Yeah, between a 6 and a 7. I don't know if you do 0.5, so let's go with 6.5 on that one. Reason being is because Trossard, really happy with him. Yeah, I think for immediate impact, it's probably a better option than Mudryk. Yeah, but obviously Mudryk's got the future ahead of him and so on and so on. But I'm quite happy with Trossard. I'll be honest, I don't know much about the Polish lad that we got in the back. Yeah, but from what I've heard, it's supposed to be quite good, right? So yeah, and then obviously now Jorginho's, like I said, I'm underwhelmed. I understand why they've done it, completely get it, and it's better than having no one, but completely underwhelmed considering what I think we could have ended up with. So 6.
Well, cheers, Pabs. Much appreciate your time as always.
That's all right.
And I'll speak to you soon, I'm sure, my friend.
Speak to you soon. Take care, mate.
Bye-bye. See you later. Fantastic stuff. I actually received a message earlier in our TGT WhatsApp group that I wanted to read you. I need to find out where this is from. But it's a really good quote. I have a feeling it might be The Athletic based upon the text, that it's the font of the text. Anyway, it's kind of a review of the move from a journalistic standpoint. They rate it a B- from a Chelsea perspective and an A- from an Arsenal perspective. And the reasoning behind that is with only 6 months on his contract, Chelsea have done well to get a fee of 10 million plus £2 million in add-ons. But they are also strengthening one of their London rivals and letting one of their most experienced players depart in the process. Arsenal needed a midfielder, and they have made a smart choice not to spend 80 million on Moises Caicedo, bringing in experience like Jorginho instead. A 31-year-old should provide the calmness the Gunners will need if they are to end the season with the title. It's an interesting perspective. Let's bring in Elliot, who's next on my list. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to be going on the bottom of my screen in terms of who's first. I'll probably give an idea in the private chat as to what that order is as well, so you're well aware of that too. But Elliot, let's bring you into the conversation. How you doing, my friends? Good to see you're not at work when you're joining me. Always good.
Yes, I'm working from home today, beating out my frustration on this keyboard I have here at the desk. So again, yes, thank you very much for having me on.
Pleasure. So I know that you're not particularly happy about this this deal, so tell me where your head's at with it.
To be fair and frank, Tom, I am vehemently against the signing. It shows how juvenile we are in the transfer market. Yes, we got somebody in, we got a body in, we got a warm body in, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, it shows the ineptitude of Edu in getting big deals done, especially when when it's concerning Caicedo. It shows that the Cronkies aren't willing to push the boat out in terms of getting the big signings done, in terms of putting the money where their mouth is. And remember, the Cronkies are bigger than the whole Chelsea consortium combined, but yet they still treat us like stepchildren here at Arsenal Football Club, even though we're their biggest entity. Near the biggest entity, if going by Forbes
Sure.
contest. And thirdly, it shows that we have not really done our homework in terms of the alternatives that we had in store today. I could name a few here: Haidara, Kone, Bamba, Onana, as somebody previously said, Neves. All these players were gettable. All these players were cheaper than the alternative Nana. All within our age range in terms of where we wanted to be in terms of good signs going forward. And yet we never got them. But yet we got this guy who has the, as I've said already in the chat, the turning radius of a cruise ship, cannot run in the midfield, and is literally an absolute liability when it comes to being dribble pass. He's one of the most dribble pass midfielders there is. Chelsea are laughing at us right now that we took it out of their hands. They can't believe the luck. We're paying to be their bin men once again. And it stuns me how we could be in first place and they're in 10th place, and yet they get the better signings than we did. I don't get it, Tom. It is an absolute shame that we are in this position right now. We have to go get a midfielder who's on its last legs, can't get any time on the in the Chelsea.
He started 15 games for Chelsea this season.
Well, we embarrassed him when we were out there, when we were at Stamford Bridge.
We're a very good team. It's not like we're,
him.
We've embarrassed a lot of good midfielders, I'd argue, this season as well.
Okay, we did embarrass a lot of good midfielders, but we shouldn't be in this position, Tom. We're in the best position we have.
Who would you have signed, Elliot? Who would you have gone for?
Again, Kone would have been my first choice. Okay. He would have been
Borussia Mönchengladbach, yeah?
From Borussia Mönchengladbach. I think if we put a good package towards him, we could have easily got him. Easily. And at a fraction of the cost of this guy here, and he would have been an adequate deputy going forward. I think we could have got Haidara, target the man that
Amadou Haidara at Leipzig.
Yeah, from Leipzig, that Brighton had already had targeted themselves. I would have gone for him. Bamba, I know he's a lightweight, but he would have been an adequate signing. Onana, here's the thing. I know that Everton are in a relegation battle, but if they saw money at their disposal and they have lost and they had lost their way in terms of ownership and their main owner, I'm sure they would have taken some sort of deal from us for Onana if we had pushed hard enough. But this again goes to show that Edo can't do big deals. He can't do it. He never has done it. Anything over $40-50 million. And remember, let's parse this out a little bit further. The Jesus and Zinchenko deals were basically the Jesus and Zinchenko deals were basically Arteta conduits. They were Arteta friends that came into the club. All he had to do was sign on the dotted line. It wasn't hard to get them. The one that I would give fair play to is basically I'll give him White, but that's
Ramsdale.
But I'll give him $40-50 million for that. But when it comes to these big deals, he gets bullied, and that's what I was afraid of from the start in this market. We are now the bullies. We are the ones who get bullied in the transfer market. If anybody comes of any good ilk, of any substantial fee, guess what? We're cowarding out. We're the cowards. We are cowards, Tom.
Why were we cowards in this Caicedo situation? We offered £70 million for a player that I'd argue is worth a significant amount less than that in reality of the market. and Brighton have turned around and said he's not for sale. They've rejected a bid from Chelsea. I wouldn't describe them as bullying Chelsea by rejecting that bid, which is, again, I think is probably a fair amount for what Caicedo is. I think that Edu has done deals for Gabriel Jesus. He's completed that with City, despite there being competition. We can say, yes, Arteta's got his links with City, but you've got to get the deal done. Zinchenko, of course, similar lines as Jesus there. You mentioned White, £50 million deal for him. Aaron Ramsdale, we had to go back and forth with Sheffield United to get Arteta, the goalkeeper he wanted. And eventually we got our man through the door as well. We've signed players that have led us to the point in constructing a squad that is competing for the title this season. And when we went into this January window, we knew that we needed a forwards. We knew that we needed a left-sided centre-back, although no one really was talking about that. And we knew we needed a midfielder. Now, for me, when you look at the winger that we brought in, we wanted Mykhailo Mudryk. That's absolutely clear and obvious as day. That's who we wanted. And in the end, Chelsea paid exactly what Shakhtar Donetsk wanted for that player. Now, I have questions about that deal because I feel as though we've bid for Caicedo a level of money that kind of indicates that we did have the money to sign Mudryk. However, just put that to one side for a second. We pivoted extremely quickly and moved for a different player instead and got Trossard, who, from what I've seen of him in this short amount of time, and of course, what I've seen him at Brighton, already looks like he's going to make more of a difference this season to us than potentially even Mudryk would have made to us. And then you've got Kivior, of course, who comes in as backup and competition to Gabriel, which we needed because we have no other left-footed centre-back. And then, of course, we've now signed Jorginho, who, as I say, has started 15 games so far for Chelsea this season. And whilst I agree with you that there are options out there, certainly, and young players like Manu Kone, who you talk about, Ibrahim Bamba, who I've mentioned, if I'm going up against Manchester City in 2-3 weeks' time, and for whatever reason, Thomas Partey is not available, I am putting my faith in a 31-year-old Jorginho who's won at the top level, starting every game nearly for Chelsea this season, to come immediately in and make an impact than a 21-year-old that's coming to a new league and is going to have to transition. He'd be great for the future. I'd sign him. I don't blame you for liking him. He's a good player. But when you look at this season as we're going for a Premier League title, I think that the Jorginho signing doesn't stop us from signing a great player in the summer or two. I think it gets us what we need right now, which is that immediate impact we've all been craving this January window. And feel free to shoot me down as much as you like.
Well, here's the thing, Tom. With Jorginho in the lineup, let's say Partey's out. It forces our change of play. Because, again, because of his mobility, his lack of mobility, we have to use players like Zinchenko and Xhaka to cover for him because he doesn't cover as much ground as Partey does. It forces our change of play. So therefore, we have to be much tighter in the midfield. We basically have the 2-in-1 formation in the midfield with Jorginho there because we have to cover for him. With Partey, we have the freedom to move forward. So therefore, our attack is not as potent as it would be in the circumstance of having Partey there. So therefore, it limits us. That's what Jorginho does. Yes, he's a warm body. Yes, he gives us cover. Fine, but he limits us in terms of our our dynamism, and that cannot be understated. This man is such a liability in terms of mobility. You might as well just give him a real chill and just get him out there and see if he can do something for you, because he is. As I said before, he is dribbled by one of the most dribbled by midfielders in the Premier League. That's the reason.
Give me an example, Elliot.
Okay, let's. I saw it on my Twitter just today.
Yeah.
You see when he was, there's an absolute. I think there was a like a short where there's a film where they show where he's dribbled by again and again and again and again. He's left wanting because he doesn't have the mobility that he used to have. He's not as dynamic as he used to be. And
could you send it to me, Elliot?
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you, absolutely. And it's humorous. It's actually quite humorous to see this. And to be fair and frank, it just shows that we have to accommodate Jorginho in order to play our game. We shouldn't have to accommodate a player who comes in order to play the game we have, the title challenging way we have been playing thus far. To bring in Jorginho, to bring in a warm body like this, yes, he has the experience, yes, he has a championship pedigree, but at the end of the day, he's past his sell-by date.
I don't think that's necessarily true that he's past his sell-by date, because this is obviously a player that, as I say, is still starting regularly for Chelsea this season, and I think that He's a player, obviously, that this isn't about Edu, to be honest. It's more about Arteta. He's the one that's put the faith in this guy, because Arteta's gone to Edu and said, look, or Edu's gone to Arteta and said, look, Brighton aren't selling Caicedo. He's not going anywhere. Who do we want to go and get? And Arteta has turned around to Edu and said, I want Jorginho. He is the option that I want us to go for as an alternative to Caicedo. And so therefore they've gone out and they've done it. And so the example, this is kind of the last point, because I'm conscious of time, and I know there's other callers that want to make their points. If we've got Man City in 3 weeks' time, right? We're playing them after we play Brentford and Everton, or Everton and Brentford, that way around. Would you start Manu Kone over Jorginho against Man City in 3 weeks' time if we bought him on deadline day?
Against Man City?
Yeah.
I'll venture yes.
Okay. I just think that the only argument that really you've got regarding the criticism of Jorginho is his mobility. And for me, in a team that has Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Orkivior, and then Zinchenko, plus Xhaka, who's shown to be a lot more mobile than I think fans thought.
Again, accommodation. It's accommodation.
It's not about accommodation. It's about a team that works. It's about putting a player into a system that enables you to get the best out of those players. You take Granit Xhaka, for example. He's playing the left 8 position, and we always moan that Granit Xhaka, too slow, can't move, turns like a bus, right? And we've put him into one of the most physically and fitness-wise demanding positions on a football field in a box-to-box role. And he is flourishing in that position. So I think there is a good chance that we see Arteta, who wanted this player, insert him into a position where he feels that he can perform. And we won't have to, quote unquote, accommodate him, because the system supports him anyway, like it supports every other player, like it supports Xhaka's vulnerabilities and Zinchenko's vulnerabilities and White's vulnerabilities. I think that we'll see Jorginho's strengths show rather than his... I'm not saying he's going to be perfect, but I'm saying that I think that we play a system that supports the strengths and emphasizes the strengths of the players, and that we would not sign a player now, 2.5, 3 years into the project, that Arteta didn't feel would make a genuine contribution to what we're doing and would not absolutely risk a title race. I'll let you have the final word, Elliot, before I move on.
Again, Tom, it's a signing. You have to deal with it, but at the end, it's not the right signing for us right now.
Fair enough.
It's not the sort of statement that we need to make as a first place side. That we have to go through the bargain basement, through the cheap aisle in order to pick up something, in order to put to accommodate us. And quite simply, we could have done better. We could have done better with better scouting. Could have done better with better transfer policies. Could have done better if we put more money on the table. Simple as that. And it shows our ineptitude in the transfer market.
Elliot, I thank you for your time and your varied opinion. Different to mine. We agree to disagree. We remain friends at the end of it. That's what we do. We talk about football and we differ, but that's fine. Elliot, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you, Tom.
Enjoy your evening, my friend. See you later. Have a good one. Next on my list is Kian. Let's bring in Kian to the conversation. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel? Take yourself off mute and then I'll be able to hear what you're saying. There we go. That's all right, fella. How you doing?
We gotta stop meeting like this, man. I'm in a bad mood with transfers.
Why are you in a bad mood? Tell me.
Actually, you know what? It's not the worst, but I do have. Actually, to be fair, the previous Elliot did cover quite a lot. We did have other options. He did cover.
So you heard what you said in response. So you probably.
Yeah, I was listening, and I was agreeing with most of it, but also, I know the fact that you're saying we need to bring someone in. Jorginho as a body. We need to bring it in last minute. But why is it last minute?
If we'd not brought anyone in, that would have been.
That's awful. True, but why is it? Why are we in that situation again? We were in the situation in the summer with Douglas Luiz. That was last minute again. And it's not like we didn't need a cover for Party for a long time. We needed it for about 2 years. And we all knew it as a fan base. We all mentioned it every window. But then we do get distracted by, a striker. And we do get distracted by the shiny attacking option. But we've needed a cover for Party for about 2 years. El Nene was never the option. We extended his contract because we needed to last summer, because we didn't have any other option. And to be honest, I would have been comfortable with El Nene more than Jorginho at the moment. But it's just
really why?
Yeah, I just think El Nene will do the gritty work for you. He'll do the dirty work for you. He'll have.
Why won't Jorginho do that?
He doesn't have the capability to do that. I think it's quite evident without Kante in Chelsea, he couldn't do that. And I just don't think he has the mobility. He's everything we complained about Xhaka in the 6th role. That's what Jorginho's faults are too. He's not press resistant, I don't think, as well. He can pass really well when he has time on the ball. I think his playmaking ability is going to be great with Zinchenko when they link up. but I just don't think he's going to be that press resistant like Partey is. I don't think he can dribble like Partey, and I don't think he can cover the ground like Partey. Like, for example, when Partey ran past our centre-backs to cover Anthony when he's running down the wing against United. Do you see Jorginho doing that? I don't think so.
When was the last time you saw Partey do that, by the way?
Against United.
Yeah. But before that, when's the last time you saw him do that?
I don't see him making a full sprint like that, but I do see him covering a lot of ground as a lone six.
He covers a lot of ground. I just think that example that we saw against United is getting picked up and elevated to a position where I'm thinking that surprised everyone. That got clipped and put onto social media because we've not seen Partey do that. Do you know what I mean?
I've seen Jorginho live enough time to see. I don't see him winning the ball back as often. I know you might bring up stats.
One of the highest tackling.
Yeah, and I was so shocked. I saw your stats show earlier, and I was baffled because I've seen Jorginho live. My dad's a Chelsea fan. He has a season ticket, so I do go to his games with him quite a bit. And I've seen Jorginho live so many times, and I just don't see that ball-winning side from him. And I think that's what the big gripe from the Chelsea fans with him against. They've been begging to get this guy out, and they don't think he's good enough to be a DM. And I think they're playing this season because they need to. I don't think they have anyone else right now.
If they don't bring in Fernandes, which still I haven't been up to date, to be honest. I took a 2-hour break from deadline day. Is it not happening? Because I've not really been in the.
I haven't heard a here we go yet.
I've not seen a here we go yet.
To be honest, I was scared that they're going to get Caicedo when that fell apart. I was scared.
52 seconds ago from Fab, he says Chelsea will try until the end for the Enzo. Meeting still ongoing. No medical yet. It would be completed in Portugal if the two clubs will be able to reach full agreement. Fight is on. It feels almost like inevitable still that it will eventually happen. If it doesn't, I'll tell you what, Chelsea in midfield are looking very worrying from that perspective. And I think they'll be very concerned they let Jorginho leave if they don't end up bringing in Fernandes. So obviously the obvious question is, I mean, I do have my discrepancies with some of the things you pointed out. As I said, I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that from a tackling position, from a recovery, interception position, the numbers are there to support the evidence that he does do that. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and see if we see it when it happens, and that will be the ultimate.
It's a lot more demanding because we're playing that modern six role, like the Rodri, the Fabinho, and Partey. We're playing that modern six where he has to do everything on his own. He has to cover a lot because Xhaka and Odegaard will push up. And in transition, if we get caught, Jorginho is another one that I believe more in Partey to be able to recover for us. I think Jorginho might have that dirty side to him. Maybe he can make tactical fouls, like the Fernandinho in his later ages. He may be able to do that. Yeah. But I don't trust him to do it. I just don't. And Chelsea player PTSD, we have Luis, Czech.
I think that's unfair though. I know exactly what fans have done with the Chelsea thing because it's like, we've got so much evidence to suggest it doesn't work. But I'm reluctant always to kind of say to judge a player based upon other players we've signed from the same team. I never think that's a fair.
To be fair though, didn't Arteta say these same type of things for Willian? Experienced player, winner.
Yeah, he did, and you're probably going to see him say those things, know. But what I will say on Arteta's side of things, he's wanted him since 2018. When he was at City, and City wanted him, and he was part of the coaching staff. We tried to sign him in 2020 as well when we had the whole our Partey situation. We were interested in him then. He's liked it for a long time, And I think that if there's one thing that should give fans encouragement about the deal is that we haven't really got too much reason to doubt Arteta's talent identification at the moment and reasoning behind his signings because. What that has done is it's elevated us into this role. I want to ask you before you go, though, who would have been the player that you would have signed?
Elliot brought up some good ones, but the one that stands out to me, Onana was probably the one. I just feel like he would have the physical presence, 40 million-ish. I know that's a bit too much, but can you put a price on a Premier League title? Because I feel
it might be 10 million. The thing with Onana and deals like that, and I think it's an absolutely fair suggestion to say that Onana would have been a good option for us in midfield. The problem with Onana is that if you do sign him for 40 million, we don't add two midfielders in the summer. We add maybe Rice and have Onana there, right?
But do you think we're going to get Caicedo and Rice?
I think the club will try. Yeah, from the sounds of things and what we hear. From what we're hearing, Arsenal will go back in for both in the summer. Whether that happens or not is a different thing. But I think it was Dharmesh Sheth on Sky Sports was one of the first to come out and point that out. I've not heard anything to suggest that the interest in Caicedo will end because we've got Jorginho. I think because El Neni, even though there's rumours that he's being extended, you've always got the chance to say that A, he's great in the dressing room, so they're just keeping him around the squad. And B, they might be activating the option so that they can make some money and sell him in the summer, because that's always something they could do. I think we all know that Sambi's time's up at Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think you've still got scope and space to bring in those two midfielders in the summer. And I just think that Onana at 40 to 50 million, and to be honest, in the deadline day, Everton are going to be asking for a silly amount for a player that they need to keep them up still.
Let me ask you this before I leave. The one question.
Of course you can.
When's the last time we had a transfer that the opposite, like the team we're getting from, were happy for him to go? And they thought he was past it, but he worked out for us. When was the last time we pulled that off?
Jesus?
They were happy for him to go.
Well, they're bringing in Erling Haaland. If I was bringing in Erling Haaland, I think I'd be pretty happy to let him go.
I don't know if they were happy for him to go, but they were like accepting, and because he was a good serve, like how we let Leno go. He was a good serve, and we were okay with it because we were better. But they weren't. It's not like they thought he was a bad player and he needed to
go. Yeah, I don't think Chelsea think that Jorginho's a bad player. I don't think they do.
Wow, this is a lot of their fan base do,
and a lot of them don't. I've spoken to a lot of people within, the content creating world of Chelsea, and they're saying we shouldn't have let him go Arsenal because he can win. Yeah, he can win them the title, but his presence could have a direct impact on Arsenal win the title. And we obviously are trying to get Enzo Fernandez. I'm speaking I'm speaking through them. That felt sick, me saying that, but you know what I mean. But they're saying we are trying to get a midfielder. It's not done yet. And we could be seeing Jorginho go off to strengthen one of our rivals, potentially get them a title because he's better than their existing backups to Partey, for me, in my opinion. I know you said El Neni thinks there's a better option, but I think that's the issue.
Yeah. Well, I hope the signing doesn't work out because...
And that's the view to have, isn't it? Like that's where we've got to be, is we just got to hope it works.
Because Kiwior and Trossard, I was happy with that. I gave you a 6 when we signed Trossard. It's not moved much, 6.57. I don't think. Kiwior, because I've not seen much, so I'm not going to judge him yet.
Yeah.
Jorginho, I have my preconceived ideas. I don't know if Arteta will improve him in our system. Maybe I'll give it a go. We'll go for it. We'll see what happens. We got no choice. But yeah, I just think this DM position could have been addressed in the past 2 years, and we kept doing it last minute every time.
I can't disagree with you on that, and that is the genuine criticism I have, is that we have been too slow on the midfield. Too slow, way too slow. So we agree. We end on an agreement, which is good. Kian, thank you so much for your time, my friend. I'll speak to you soon.
Sure.
See you later, mate. Much appreciated to Kian. I think we've got some super chats that I've somehow missed in the chat. I say somehow, I've obviously been chatting away. Let's try and tackle some of those. Chris says Xhaka was one of our best players last season. To be fair, wasn't necessarily playing this new role the entire time that he's been here. I'm sure there's others that I've also missed in the chat. I'll try and find them. O'Malley says we counter press in a 2-3-5 and defend in a 4-4-2 in a mid block. He will always have one or even potentially two players next to him. Stop thinking of him in Chelsea's system. Alan D, thank you so much for joining up as a brand new member. Welcome to the TGT family. Much appreciate your support. Chris P says, how do you know that they were gettable? Obviously asking Elliot, I think that was at the time, about the players that we've been talking about, Neves maybe with Pablo. None of them had the experience, which is exactly what we need. I, for one, I'm glad we didn't overpay for Mudryk and we didn't miss out on Caicedo. He just simply was not for sale. I will continue to scroll up whilst I get my next guest on, because I think there are others that may have been super chats that I have missed. Garrett is up next on my list here. Garrett, how are you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
I'm not too bad, Tom. Not too bad at all. I'm glad to be on.
Good stuff. You always appreciate a microphone when I do these things, and very much appreciate hearing the crisp audio sounds. I'm just a nerd for that audio stuff, so I appreciate it. How are you feeling about the Jorginho situation?
I mean, initially when I saw it, you kind of saw the rumors circulating last night. Not particularly inspiring at first, kind of like yourself. I was thinking, God, is this what the window's come to? But when you think about it a bit more, I mean, like, kind of as you said all along, he provides that experience. I mean, like the other options we were going to get, I mean, Caicedo, there's nothing more we could have done. People online seem to think there was something else we could have done. There wasn't. So,
I'm listening, by the way. I'm just sorting out the private chat at the same time.
I mean, we couldn't do anything on that front. We tried. I mean, as you've said, and I agree, it's 75 million, as apparently was the second offer, well above his value. And they just weren't selling. I mean, alternatives. I mean, Elliot, I think, mentioned Neves. I mean, they're in a relegation battle. I cannot see them selling him. Onana said he didn't want to leave. I mean, the market for a midfielder in this window was terrible. I suppose my only one thing I was thinking of was why not? If we're going to, like, Jorginho was pretty cheap, 12 million to a club like Arsenal isn't a lot of money. Why not get Bamba as well? Like, I'm well aware he's raw, quite like Sambi when we first got him, even maybe less so playing in the second division of Portuguese football. But just, it's 9 million. It's not much money. Just chuck it at him, get him, and see what he can do. I suppose that would be my only criticism.
You would have preferred him to Jorginho.
I was thinking in combination with Jorginho. If you're going to go for Jorginho, get them both together, because it wasn't going to cost much money.
That maybe fills a spot. If we say, I'm saying the obvious question here. Do you think it fills then a spot up that could have been taken up by Rice and potentially Caicedo in the summer?
I suppose my thinking would be that he would take Zambi's spot, given that Zambi's gone out on loan, and I think, as you said, and I think a lot of us has maybe come to realise maybe Zambi's time at the club is coming, nearing an end. So that was my kind of thinking. Maybe he could take Zambi's spot in the squad, and then potentially we could still get 2 midfielders. But I understand what you're saying as well. It's it's a valid point. And I mean, I think the money we saved by not, say Brighton did want to sell, but the price tag was 90, 100 million, and we spent it. What would that mean for the summer? So I'm kind of looking at it that way. It's not bad overall. I think the window is a 7. I think as well. I remember in your Kivior show, the breakdown of him. I mean, he's played more minutes as a DM than he has as a centre back. So that's something to consider. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a different pace of game in this area. But it's something to consider. I mean, obviously, Arteta is the man. Arteta and Edu are the man to get these players in. They know a lot more about them than we do. So I'm not too worried. And the whole Jorginho thing, I think you can't look at him at Chelsea in recent times. I mean, Chelsea's midfield in recent times has been all over the shop. While it is a little bit worrying to think of the kind of recovery pace him and Jack would have as in the midfield, but he'd be more protected, so I'm not as worried, and he's good in possession based systems, which is exactly how we play these days. So
yeah,
I don't know. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. No, I think as well, I'm not sure where people seem to think he's going to be some starter. I mean, he is, going to be on the bench. I mean, we will see him, as rotation, say in the last 20, 30 minutes if we're controlling games, but he is not going to be a starter unless Partey goes down, which, I'm not that confident Partey will stay fit. I mean, fingers crossed, obviously, but
evidence tells you he probably
exactly
won't.
Evidence tells us otherwise. So it's kind of, I'm not sure. I to be honest, given the circumstances, I don't think we can be too annoyed. People love to whine. We know that well, so people are always going to have a problem. But given the circumstances, I think it's a 7 overall. Trossard, great signing. We saw the problems he caused City, and Kivior, as I said, I haven't seen too much of. But if Arteta wanted him, I think Arteta has enough credit in the bank to justify getting these players. And also, people forget he wanted Jorginho 2 years ago. And while I understand that Jorginho has fallen off, somewhat, he still wanted the player. He still has some of those traits he had 2 years ago. So, look, I think Arteta and Edu, while I think we shouldn't really be in this place, potentially, I think you alluded to it as well. In previous windows, say the summer, we probably should have got a midfielder in. But that would be my criticism. I really don't think a marquee midfield signing is for a January window. It's very hard to get business done.
Yeah, I agree. 7 out of 10. I think that's what I said. So yeah, we'll see how it transpires. Garrett, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. I look forward to seeing you on the preview show at some point in the future again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom.
Have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm going to be really mean to our Q, but he does run a charitable organization, so I kind of have to be. Although I'm now kind of worried because I can see in the bottom of my screen he's already put something on the screen. Let's just introduce Mike into the screen for 3 minutes. He's cutting in. How you doing?
I've got my unicorn. I'm going to blow it up soon because people are blowing up for no good reason. I'm going to use my energy and my breath and blow this up and sit on it like a 22-year-old footballer in my pool. But boy, are there some people going nuts today?
You're not going nuts though. Why?
Well, one, I'm old, and when I try to be energetic about something, it just doesn't work anymore, except for one thing. But I'm loving you today, man. Just your control and someone pointed out in the chat. It's your teacher control.
It is that. Which I sometimes
see what you're saying, but this is why it's completely wrong. I love it.
It's hard to balance that without looking like a complete you know what, like.
Well, but
which I probably do.
For a fetus, you're doing you have a very mature way of handling those things. So no, honestly, we've obviously been chatting offline all day in a group, and there's probably a little bit more tolerance in that group than I'm hearing on this open mic show, and but for the window that we've had. But again, are you looking at the window? Are you comparing January 2022 to January 2023? Are you just looking at Jorginho versus other options that we don't know were available or realistic? Are you taking the summer into consideration? Or, if you throw all of those things out and you focus on one issue, which is, did we sign the best defensive midfielder available to us? Then yeah, I can understand you being mad, but that is not the only issue in this contextual situation. There are so many moving parts in any one transfer, in any transfer strategy, any transfer window. And I just can't believe how many people are throwing their toys out of the pram about Edu and about not being able to get big deals done.
You can believe it.
Well, I can believe it because we've seen it before, but I mean, how many times do we have to be taught as a fan base, wait to worry? I know people don't want to have a bad thing happen that they could then say, I told you this was going to be a problem, but all the energy spent whining about signing Ben White and Aaron Ramsdale, and the whining about and the people just wringing their hands about sticking with Arteta through the tough times. How many times do we have to be proven that sometimes you just wait and see before you go nuts about it? Opinions, sure, but just going nuts about something that we don't know the outcome of yet, we have no control over, and things are going pretty darn well right now. Just seems, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm old. Maybe I've seen a lot of different things in my life, and people are just watching football, and that's the only thing they've ever done. But to me, it's a bit overblown at this point. We're top of the league. There's nothing that I see that's showing that we're weakening. We have tough games coming up, and our squad depth is infinitely better. Well, not infinitely better, but marginally better than it was a month ago.
Better. Yeah.
It's better than it was a month ago, and it's much better than it was a year ago. So,
imagine. Yeah.
Is that my 3 minutes?
That's your 3 minutes, mate. I was going to do teacher voice on you then for a second.
Now you told me it was only going to be 3 minutes. When you're done here, and you want to talk more, GoonerOpenMic.com. Come over to ours and feel free to blow up, and I'll go.
We'll learn the mastery of the facial expressions. No, Mike, smash you, mate. Appreciate you jumping on for just the 3 minutes. And do once we're finished here and you're done here, you can go and watch another phone-in show on the Gooners pod.
Don't come over to me before Tom's done, then, because then Tom won't be my friend anymore.
There you go. Right, Mike, I will speak to you and see you soon. Don't sit on that at the wrong end. It'll be painful, mate. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.
My strategy.
See you later, mate. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Let's bring in Dylan, who I'm hoping is ready. I've been messaging him in the private chat, but he's not seen it. He's looking at it frantically now. Dylan, are you there? Are you ready? How are we doing? There we are.
Hi there, Tom. Yeah, you good?
Yeah, very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, brilliant, man. Sorry, no, Mike was very well spoken then. I was kind of expecting to be the only one to come on here and actually agree with you. No, genuinely, the guy before him as well. I forget his name, but yeah, no.
Yeah, Kian, yeah, very good.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm being a bit up against it today. Really, it's been a funny one. Everyone's been in total uproar about it, and I mean, last night when I heard the news, I was obviously a bit disappointed. I was kind of hoping it was going to fall through, but realistically, I can't see what the fuss is about. I mean,
why were you hoping it would fall through? Because I mean, I like you.
I don't know.
I was disappointed when it first
I was just
got out.
Kind of fingers crossed that something else was going to come in the background, and maybe there was just going to be this miraculous signing that we'd all just not expected, and just going to turn out to be like a genius play from Edu. But realistically, I mean, this could work out really well. Arteta wanted him in the long run. I mean, a couple of years ago anyway. And although it's obviously not our first choice, all our previous second choices have turned out to be, you know, really, really good signings. And I'm sure plenty of people that are calling for Edu out now probably didn't want Zinchenko, probably didn't want Ramsdale, you know. And maybe that's not a fair estimation to say, but it's I've never seen a signing be so divisive in the fan base. It's bonkers to me, and I feel like I'm inclined to sort of expect that it's just because he's a Chelsea player. And we've all got a bit of PTSD from that. Or maybe that's not true. I mean, there are. No, I've heard some reasonable arguments tonight, and I think obviously that's why this platform is quite good for getting people out of their echo chamber a little bit, because you know I've heard things which I haven't heard all day, and I think you know it's really good that you're doing that. But yeah, generally, I mean, I think with Jorginho, and this is one point which I don't think many people have touched on, is I don't necessarily think we're buying him just to slot in Partey's role. Say Partey comes out, we do actually have other options to put somebody like for like and say, oh, you're our number 6 now and everything's going to come for you. Like there are other ways Arteta can play the system that might still be able to facilitate Jorginho. For example, okay, so the new guy we got, Kivior, allegedly, I mean, I haven't seen him do any game time, but supposedly he's quite a good defensive midfielder. And Zinchenko's been proven to be quite good in that centre mid role. But there's potential for Xhaka to move back. Maybe Ødegaard moves as an 8, and then you have Jorginho and Ødegaard being the orchestrators of the midfield, and then having somebody more stable like Xhaka at the back trying to be the protector. You know, there's options, and I feel like everybody's just so quick to assume that, oh, we need a defensive mid, we've gone for Jorginho, that's our option. It just, I don't know, it doesn't really go by like that. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said, and I think you probably echo a lot of the thoughts I've said on the show. And the criticism I have, and it's always important to be balanced. Like the criticism I have of the window is the speed at which Edu has necessarily done things. You know, like the Mudryk thing dragged on a long time. And eventually,
I kind of within reason though. I mean, we've been looking. Oh no, sorry, Karen, I'm interrupting.
No, it's fine. I'm used to doing that to me all the time. As I say, just, you know, the Mudryk thing dragged on a long time. And then you're also in the situation where the Caicedo thing, clearly he wasn't for sale. So why we kept on bidding when we could have used that time potentially more effectively, you know, I think is a fair criticism. Yeah, no,
100%. I mean, with Mudryk, we're scouting him for a long time, like even since last summer. And I came on here and had a chat about that in the last phone-in show. And I mean, we just got outbid in the last minute, and you can't predict something like that. And yeah, you can say we should have just put the money down, but it was a ridiculous amount of money, and we don't have the sort of financial flexibility that Chelsea have. We operate a little bit differently, and he'd kind of be coming in to sort of immediately start over Martinelli as well. So that didn't bode too well to me initially. I think Trossard has been, well, I mean, we've only seen him twice, but I think he's been outstanding all year. Like he's been remarkable. He can play left wing, forward, right wing, and as a cam. I think that's generally better than just having somebody who's just going to run down the wing and just be that, you know, that lightning fast pace you see on FIFA. Like, and then with Caicedo, yeah, I mean, he just wasn't for sale. We offered a ridiculous amount of money for him as well, and this is what it's come down to. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's January. Like, this isn't the summer transfer window. We didn't get anything done in last January. It just proves how difficult these things can be. We've made 3 transfers in 3 key positions. We weren't even expecting to get a centre back. You know what I mean? So I think generally we've done pretty well. And, you know, on regards to Jorginho, he's already shown to be a proven winner. And I don't think anybody, I mean, I know it's been a year and a half he's been out of favour with the Chelsea fans, but I don't think anybody just turns into a bad player overnight in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, he's still got that winning mentality. You know, he took Italy through to win the Euros, and he captained Chelsea to win. Was he the captain for Chelsea when they won the Champions League?
I think he didn't.
Or maybe it was
Azpilicueta. Yeah, but he has.
But he's like, he's a deputy, you know. He's got that energy about him, and I genuinely think just having him in the background as another experienced head, when maybe Elneny's not going to be around so much, this could be perfect. Arteta clearly likes him. I've seen some pictures. Do you know what I mean? I think you know, it's been good. It's good to come on here because I think most of the voices I've heard have been quite sort of dissentful towards Edu, and I just think it's a bit mad. Like, obviously, I'm not discrediting what other people think. Everyone's inclined to their opinion, but I feel like a lot of people just want to be vindicated and just saying that Edu's just not the right man for this job. When I think he's done loads of business really well. In regards to like Jesus and Zinchenko, it's like you can say that's Arteta, but who's doing the business behind the scenes? Arteta says he wants him. Edu's got to do all the business, and he's got them through for really, really cheap in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah, you look at the team we've built. You know, people are saying he can't do a big deal. Well, we're really good at doing deals for the players that Arteta, still wants. Yes, we don't always get the primary target. And to be honest, I do put that a lot. If we were like, if we were talking about us being in Man City's position, top of the table, title challenge each year, I'd be like, why aren't we getting our primary targets? Because a club challenging for titles each year should be getting their primary targets. But in reality, we've finished 8th twice, we finished 5th last season, and we're trying to build towards being a title challenger every year from now. So I kind of see from that perspective, I can see why teams that with more, modern day reputation, maybe
credit in the bank. That's it. And Chelsea they won the Champions League just a few years ago, and we are, we're aiming for great heights at the moment, but we're not really quite there, are we? I mean,
and teams like United,
we don't have that same pool, and we can't offer the same finances and maybe the same income that Chelsea could maybe provide. Like, they still have a pool. They are still a big club, despite where they are on the table, and Arsenal still have a lot to prove. I mean, that's it.
So out of 10 to the window?
Yeah, I'm probably going to give the highest score. I'd say an 8.
Okay.
I'm not massively infused with the Jorginho deal, but having 3 signings in January in key positions I can't really speak. I mean, if we got Caicedo in, then it would be a 9. But
of course.
So there was one more point I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what it is.
Maybe leave it in the chat box and I'll try and pick it out. All right,
Okay,
Dylan, I
nice
appreciate your time, mate, and always
no worries.
On. Enjoy the rest of
cool.
the
Nice one. Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye. Massive thank you. We've got some breaking news to discuss as well. Well, not discuss, but just to bring up. Chelsea apparently have indeed now agreed that deal for Enzo Fernandez. He is set to travel to London, and he will be. I think they said he would be completing medicals in Portugal, but a big rush on now to try and get their deal done. I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't not happen. You never know. Things happen in crazy ways during the window. Next on my list is Stefan. Let's bring in Stefan to the conversation, and then after that it's Dan. Stefan, how you doing, my good friend? You good? You well?
What's up, Tom? I'm good. I'm good, man. What about you?
Yeah, not bad. Long day. I'm kind of glad the window's closed at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that it's coming to an end. How do you feel about Jorginho?
I'm much more on the positive side. I think it's from a number of actual viewpoints. For me, for the actual fit, so where the player is going to play and within the Arteta system, I think he'll do much better than at Chelsea, where the actual system is at the moment especially very, very muddled. They change their formation pretty much every week, whether it's with a 2 in midfield or with a 3. And for me, Jorginho, honestly, looking at the views, and because I actually have a few friends who are Chelsea fans, and trust me, the views on him are just as polarizing with them, and in the same way that we actually reacted. Like, I have one friend who loves him, who says he's who says he's a very good player. He's always, in the big games, he always plays well, and people just don't see, because he doesn't have, flashy assists or scores long range shots. They don't actually see the value that he brings to the Chelsea team. Then I have the other friend who absolutely despises him, who says who just like Arsenal, who says he's slow, who says he gets overran in midfield, stuff like that. For me, from watching him, honestly, I really like him. I think he would suit us perfectly, because he's going to come into a team that dominates the ball. And what Jorginho, for me, when I watched him play against us, the one thing I hated about him when we played was he would never lose the ball. Like, he would know when he was on the ball, he was always pretty much going to secure it, unlike Kante, Gallagher, or any of their midfielders. So I think he would suit us from that perspective. And just looking at it from just a more cost-benefit analysis, it's a short-term deal. He's the loan that we're sending Cedric now to Fulham. So if we take out Cedric's salary compared to Jorginho's, I think we're pretty much
70%.
Yeah, we're covering most of his salary. It's a year and a half. he's a winner. One thing that Arteta always, cries about is mentality. If you read about his story, how he came up in the lower leagues in Italy, he's got a very kind of, he's a he definitely has a tough mentality. He pretty much came from nothing. So Arteta loves that type of player. The other thing I really liked about him, I actually read up, he has one injury recorded.
Yeah, it's a really good record for
in
injuries.
8 years, which for me is key when we
Which means he's going to get injured straight away.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope not. But I mean, he's not injury prone whatsoever. And then when I hear people saying, "Oh, but he doesn't do a part," if you read his stats, he's got better stats than Partey this year. He plays more passes forward, or as you call them, progressive passes. He has more tackles per game than Partey. Even though when you actually watch the game, you don't see it. He does. He does. And the most important, I think, he's in the top 3 of any player in the Premier League in terms of covering distance. So he can still run, even though he's not the most athletic. But I seriously believe that if you put him in the system, for example, everybody says, "Oh, but he's not." Busquets, if you put Busquets in that Chelsea team, he would look just as bad as Jorginho, because he wasn't also the most mobile. So for me, it's I'm much more. Did I want the what's his name? Caicedo? Yes, I would have loved him.
Yeah, of course.
But Brighton why would they sell him now? They're in the FA Cup. They're playing really well, and they're also within a shout for European place. I think the owner of Brighton thinks about it and says, even if they give me 80 to 90 million, getting into Europe for the first time in Brighton's history is far more significant than selling him now. So yeah, that's
no, I think you've made some really good points, well raised. I kept on thinking up of a question and then you answered it, so you summed it up really, really well. No, just to round things off very briefly, because I've got a few more callers to get in the show as well. Rating out of 10 of the window?
That's actually, I've been kind of thinking about it. It's definitely, I'm swinging between a 7 or an 8. I wouldn't put it as an 8 because I do agree with some of the more negative viewers that it is a worrying sign that all of our number 1 targets now, we're having a history of not getting them in a way. Yeah. But I really do believe that that's because of where we are as a club at the moment. I think we're on the precipice of getting to that elite. If we win the league, I honestly do believe in the summer, what Ian Wright said, every single player, especially a young player that plays in the Prem, will want to come for us. And that's why I know they're going to say, "Oh, Chelsea are going to throw money." We have a lot of money too. And I think if we win the Premier League, Declan Rice, at least one of those that you said that we're going after, both of them, at least one of those players will come. I'm sure of it, because I just don't see why would they go somewhere else? The only club that I'm worried about in the summer, and potentially that could take any of them away, is Man United. But from what I'm reading, Eric Ten Hag's priority in the summer is to spend big on a number 9.
Yeah.
So I and they're also cash strapped from financial fair play. I'm reading. If they don't get into the Champions League, I'm even reading that they might have to sell first to actually buy players. So for me, we're set. And just the final thing, I'm going to give it an 8 just because of the actual cost, and because it allows us. For me, it gives it, if we win the league, or even if we finish 2nd or 3rd again, it allows us to spend big in the summer. It really does, because we've barely, we have that money, and now it's going to be left for the summer to actually spend. So for me, I'm positive.
Happy with an 8? Yeah, positive. No, I appreciate your time, Stefan, as well. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the deadline day, and enjoy the rest of the season, of course, as well.
Thank you, Tom. You too, man. Let's go Arsenal. Come on.
Absolutely. Have a good one, my friend. See you later. Massive thank you to Stefan there. We're down to our last 5 callers of the show. Just to read you the order for those that aren't looking at the private chat, we've got Dan Wilson, Bill, Ethan, and Mohammed on my list, and that will be it. I've had to close the order up, otherwise I will never get to bed. So that's our last 5 callers. Let's go to Dan next. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And yourself?
Yeah, very good. Not bad. I know you got to shoot off to a Gooners pod to get roasted over there. So
Yeah,
tell me how
exactly.
you're feeling about Jorginho, mate.
I feel like people on Twitter are forgetting that we're top of the league.
Okay.
And I'm playing
Start that sentence again, and then you'll remember why.
some
you said
people.
that. People on Twitter.
Yeah, that's also true. We're doing so well. And the thing is, before January, before the window started, with the squad that we have, we've been brilliant. And we're top of the league, 5 points clear. I think we were before the World Cup and are now. And I don't... It's strange because I didn't really think we actually needed anyone at all. And yet we've brought in 3 players on top of what we've already got. And maybe that's because El Neni's had this injury. And I think that's the clear thing. Because what I've actually looked at is Xhaka and Partey have played almost every game so far this season, barring when Partey was injured for 3 games. And I think Xhaka came off 1 game.
Yeah.
Against
it was
Wolves.
ill against Wolves, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we haven't needed to bring on El Neni or Lokonga in that midfield. So who's to say that Jorginho comes in? Who's to say he's actually going to get many minutes? He's there for, not just to be in the dressing room, because he is a leader and a winner, but he's there that worst case scenario, he comes in for an injury, but we might not even get any injuries. And this is the thing. I feel like a lot of people are saying if Partey gets injured, but we could say the same thing. What if Saliba gets injured? What if Ramsdale? It's the same with what if Hart? But it's the same with every player. So why are we all so fixed about this whole Partey injury thing?
Like PTSD, because we've got that fear that it's there, and that's why I said if we hadn't have signed a midfielder, and I said this on Harry's show earlier, if we hadn't have signed a midfielder, I would have been fuming. I would have been so annoyed.
I agree, and I think we needed a midfielder because El Neni got injured. I think if El Neni hadn't, I think we'd be fine till the end of the season because he does the job that Partey does. Obviously not as well, but he does that job as a kind of lone number 6. And that's what Jorginho has been doing for Chelsea. He is a lone number 6. So if Partey does get injured, I hope not. If he does, I think Jorginho can come straight in, and we'll see what he can do because I don't think he's a terrible player.
Yeah,
and we're doing well. We're doing well in the league. Like I just don't see it. And bringing in Kivior as well for depth. Where also remember, we're out of the FA Cup now. We've not played League Cup football. Europa League doesn't start for later.
March. Yeah.
These Premier League they're Premier League players. They can play week in, week out. So I don't really see why there's such a need to have so many players. But we're bringing 3 players in, and that's the good thing. Like we've got extra players that had we bought Caicedo for 80 million, it's almost like he probably wouldn't play that many games. Or if he does, I wouldn't know where
he wouldn't have started,
Well, exactly, and that's spending 80 million. Would you not rather kind of save that money to spend in the summer when maybe we've scouted a bit more, seen who else is out there? Declan Rice might come in handy, and yeah, we could sign both of them. But what if Patino keeps playing well at Blackpool? And it's just like I'd rather wait till the summer when you've got more time to really have a look.
Obviously with the context of we had to get someone in now, and we've done that, and I agree in this. I don't, to be honest with Caicedo, he weren't for sale, so it doesn't matter what we threw at him. I don't think he was coming.
Yeah,
but exactly. I agree in the sense of I don't see the point in if you can get a player as good as Jorginho in now, why rush to get someone just as good, or maybe not as good, but obviously younger and more expensive, when you could probably just say get Jorginho in now and then get someone even better in the summer, but still you get the quality that you were going to get anyway because you've brought in Jorginho.
Exactly. I don't see Jorginho as a long-term replacement. He signed for this year and the next with an option of one more.
It's the perfect length, really, isn't it? So.
Exactly. It's all we need because we'll probably be bringing in a Declan Rice or someone of maybe that level, because when you look at the squad now, almost every position they're 25 and younger, apart from those 2 midfielders.
Yeah.
So we're building that team for the next 4 or 5 seasons, And that's where those two midfielders come. Jorginho's not one of them because he's just kind of someone who's going to be within the team. It's like Xhaka and Partey. I mean, they can only go for so long, but I can imagine we'll have a 25-year-old in midfield next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, score out of 10 just to wrap things up?
Give it a 9.
Wow, that's up to fair play.
We're top of the league and we've improved our squad. I don't really understand why it's anything less, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm happy.
Fair enough. I go with slightly less. One of the reasons why I go slightly less is I don't know why we've let Lokonga go, to be honest.
But he wasn't playing anyway, and that's the thing.
My issue is if we have those injuries and we've let him go, I'm going to be worried about that. But yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only gripe I really have.
And I guess we'll see in May if we've had those injuries, and if we haven't, then and we're top of the league, then great, and job done.
Absolutely. Dan, go enjoy the Gooners pods. Try as you can. I'll speak to you soon, fella.
Speak soon. Bye.
Have a good one. See you later. Let's bring in our next caller. Wilson's up next, who has been waiting a very, 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 very long time to get on the channel. He's already rubbing his hands together. How you doing, Wilson?
Good evening, Tom. I'm good. I've got some things to say.
Good. I have to say, Wilson, you are one of the most committed listeners we have, because I'm often read out your message going, "What on earth?" is how you start off your messages.
I know. I have to say I feel a bit mixed overall. Simply because I felt with Trossard, we already know the impact that he's made already. He caused Man City, Man United a lot of problems. Yep. He's been a great signing so far. Who's that? What's the name of that Polish son? Kivior. I've not really heard of him, but I've heard I honestly I've not heard of him, but I've heard he's got potential there. Who else? I mean,
Jorginho.
One, Jorginho. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, Jorginho. The moment I heard Jorginho coming to us, I was absolutely fuming. At one point I wanted to smash my phone because of that. but when I was thinking more about it, let's be honest. Jorginho is experienced. He's a Champions League winner. He's a Euros winner, and also I feel he's going to help some of the younger players as well, because we all know, Tom, when it comes to any title race, you need experienced heads to help the players go through to get it over the line. I feel like Jorginho will help us that. I feel like the reason why I think the signings are smart, but I feel like the Jorginho one is not the player
who would you have signed? You know, that's the question I'm asking people.
I know. I mean, I would have loved to go for Casido, but the problem with Brighton is they do not want to sell the player. There's no point of forcing a club to sell the player which we don't want to sell. It's like a car. Let's say like a car costs around 50 grand. And someone offers like 20 or 30, 40 grand. I'm not interested. I'm not selling.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, because January is a tough window. This is not the summer window. This is January. It's typically a really tough window. You're not going to always get your big players in January. It's more likely to happen in the summer, as far as I'm concerned. So some people, and there's one guy in particular I saw on the show, Elliot, Jesus Christ.
Elliot's a passionate guy. Jesus, you got to respect the passion.
I know. He's very passionate, but you know, I'm a little bit worried though that we're not getting most of our big targets in, which is a little bit of a worry. We need to address that, because what if we win the league this season when we keep missing out on targets again? That's a bit of a worry.
That's when I'll be really worried.
That.
Yeah, if we were to win the league, and you know, we all know Declan Rice is the priority. So if we win the league and don't get Rice, that's
I'll be annoyed.
I'll
be annoyed. I'll be absolutely fuming, and because honestly, that needs to be addressed. It's as simple as that. And also in terms of the players that we got, I can't complain too much. Would I take that? Probably.
If I'd have said you at the
That's
start of the window,
I mean,
you're
you have to do
getting
what.
Kivior, Jorginho, and Trossard, what would you have said?
Honestly, if I'm honest, I would have taken that because it's more. I think those players are realistic for us to be doing right now in the situation that we're in. Like the reason why some of the big players are not coming to us at the moment because we're not quite there at the moment. We're not quite there at the moment. You know what I mean? Like Chelsea and Man United, they got these creatives and they got the finances and everything. And hopefully we'll win the league this season. Maybe that will persuade more of those big players to come in the summer, and that will just start the trend. That will start the trend for me.
So score out of 10, just to round things off.
If I'm honest, I'll say a 7. I'd say a solid 7, simply because like we strengthened in the positions that we need. In a situation we're in now. If I had to think about who's going to win the league, I believe the title is Arsenal's to lose. It's Arsenal's to lose because we got momentum. We're in good form. We know exactly what we're doing. The players know what they're doing, and the manager knows what he's doing. Nobody should be doubting the manager whatsoever. None. Absolute none.
Agreed. Wilson, thank you so much. I appreciate your listenership and your passion and your commitment. Been brilliant, mate. Thank you for coming on.
No worries. See you around, Tom.
See you later, mate. Have a good evening. Enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.
Right.
Much appreciate Wilson. Fantastic stuff. I love passionate fans like Wilson. Really good to listen to their views and opinions. And the chat box as well has been fantastic. We've got a couple more guests to talk to this evening. Bill's up next. Bill, how you doing, Bill?
Hey, Tom. I'm doing great. Happy that the transfer window is almost over so that we can get back to celebrating being top of the league without all these distractions.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to love the transfer window. I used to love it. It's really becoming working it, especially it really does take its toll. Jorginho, talk to me. How do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, when I first heard the rumor that we were looking at him, I kind of had just a meh reaction to it.
Yeah, that's me.
Mostly because we were still potentially in for Caicedo. And that was basically the perfect signing that we could have had. But the more it became reality, the more I kind of grew into it because especially once I heard the terms, it's a short contract. We only have him for 18 months. I mean, 6 months would have been more of a perfect contract, but there's no way he's going to sign for that. But yeah, I think he gives us exactly what we need to really push for the title, which if you're not going to get that guy who covers us both in the now and in the future, which Caicedo almost certainly would have done, I think the priority had to have been covering us for the now, which is really what Jorginho does. The more I think about it, we were looking at Caicedo, we were looking at Mudryk. Both of those were going to cost, if they were even going to be sold, north of 80, 90 million, if not more. And looking at the 3 signings that we got in this window, I think we got them in for less than 60. And
yes, definitely.
Yeah, so if you had told, honestly, I would have been surprised if we had bought 1 or 2. I would have been surprised if we had bought 2 players.
I remember when we did, because you came on one of the previous phone-ins. I think it was after Trossard.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there, and I remember a lot of us were saying, like, how many do you think we'll get? And I think we're like, this might be it. Right. It might just be Trossard.
The fact that we have 3 in positions that we really needed cover, and at least 2 of them are Premier League proven. They're ready to hop right in. Obviously, Trossard's shown that he's ready to just step right in. I really think this window has been better than we would have expected, just from what we've gotten in. Obviously, the big disappointment is that we're not getting our first priorities, but I really think when you look at the type of people we were going for, those are really summer signings. And I think people are forgetting, like, I looked this morning, and out of the big six, even like the top 7 or 8, we have brought in the most players this January. I mean, you look at
other
Man
than
City.
the obvious.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
other than the money machine, Todd Bowley,
but they're not top 6, remember? So it's just a fair.
right.
You're still right. Yeah.
Yeah, you get. Yeah, we're not talking about 10th place and below, but yeah, I was looking at it, and that's kind of what you would expect for a January window, is 1, maybe 2 signings if you're desperate. And we're seeing now that we're willing to bolster this squad to really push for the title, even if it's not our first priorities. We saw last summer that we had our one priority that we were like, okay, if we can give Vlahovic, we'll go for him. We didn't, we got it, and then we didn't get anything. This time around, we have our priorities. We want to go for these guys, but if we can't get them, we shifted. We got someone in because we know the opportunity that we have in front of us, and I think that's been really smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of I'm expecting a positive answer here, but a score out of 10 for the window?
I mean, I've got to give it at least an 8. Obviously, losing Lukonga is going to be it's odd, but I think that's more for him than for us.
Yeah,
I think he really needed some time to just get some minutes under him, which he wasn't going to do, especially if he was here with Jorginho. And I mean, we're shipping him off to Patrick Vieira, so hopefully he gets some great experience there. But other than that, the signings have been great for me, so definitely got to give it a solid 8.
Yeah, fair play. Bill, thank you so much. You got your own channel as well. Make sure to give it a shout out.
Not my own YouTube channel. It might be coming soon, but I do have a blog, goonerworks.com, where I'll post every once in a while. But yes, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter to see if and when I post on there.
Lovely stuff. Thanks, Bill. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Speak to you soon.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Likewise, Tom.
See you later.
See you.
Bye-bye. Lovely stuff. We're on to our final call of the evening. He's waited very, very patiently indeed. It's Mohammed. How you doing, Mohammed? You good? You well?
Hi, Tom, my friend. How are you after a long time? Yes, I waited very, very patiently to be with you.
I'm afraid it's a first come, first serve, and they line up all along the bottom of my screen, and people are very quick to get into the show. So, to be fair, there's been a lot of people. I keep getting notifications off my screen saying people have been trying to join but can't get in because it's full. So, apologies for those that couldn't make it onto our phone in. But Mohammed, let's focus on yourself. Jorginho, January window. How are you feeling?
Look, Tom, you know me, I'm realistic enough to analyze the situation as it is. Always, I'm not against persons at all. I'm an Arsenal fan. I love Arsenal to succeed. When I yesterday first heard the name of Jorginho, I was surprised. Because I thought, okay, Caicedo deal is off, but there are some names that we deserve better than Jorginho. For me, Jorginho, okay, is a serial winner, big character, great experience, without doubt. But I want to talk about Edo. You know, I think Edo has done a good job with Arteta, the successful pair. For me, my point of view or my analysis about a player or a manager in general is stable. They didn't change. To review back the beginning of last season with the 3 defeats and we were bottom of the league, I was always on Arsenal Lounge phone-in shows after the match with Lev and with the guys, and also with Harry. And during the storm, all Arsenal fans are saying Arteta out. My far or my different point of view was Arteta is a good manager. He will turn the situation around. We will have all our players back, and it turned to be. And you remember, we have a funny show with you last day of the summer transfer window, and I was gave you a shout that Dennis Zakaria, yes? And he didn't play the first 2 months with Chelsea, but in the last maybe 1 month or 2 months when he played, he was one of the best players for Chelsea in midfield. My criticism of Edo in this January window, Tom, and in the last January window. So I'll start with summer. We didn't achieve all our goals. For me, we did half of our job. We got Zinchenko and Jesus, great deals. That's it. For me, that's not enough. And I told you this last summer, it's not enough. Even Fabio Vieira, he's not delivering. Maybe we will wait a little bit. Playing. Okay, I know, but he's not affecting the team like Zinchenko and Jesus. So last summer, it was obvious we needed a winger and another midfielder. And all the trusted journalists say when Pepe goes, Arsenal will sign a winger. Okay, Pepe went to the French league, we didn't sign a winger. Then the problem of the midfield, the same mistake. Edo waited last summer 7 days after El Nene injury and came in the deadline day to Douglas Luiz. And I told you then that Aston Villa didn't want to sell Douglas Luiz in deadline day. So we kept one bid, second bid, and first, and finally the deal is off, and we didn't get Modric deal. Modric deal all about Edo. He failed massively for me. For me, Tom, it's not about. It's about certain criteria. Identifying the targets, then when to start negotiations. Third, how to negotiate, ruthless or not. Modric was our prime target since last summer, and he was available for 40 or 45 million euros. Arsenal heard this number, they said no to Shakhtar. If we know this is a huge talent and will be our future, okay, get him in the summer. Okay, this is one thing. We started bidding for Modric 25th of December. Yeah. So it dragged on till the 16th of January. We wasted all the time on this deal, and we were not ruthless. We were alone in the deal. Chelsea was just monitoring us. If we failed, they will jump on. Yeah. And it happened because some deals, Tom, you know, Shakhtar said 100 million euros. Okay, so giving 40 plus 20, it rejected. Then waiting a week to negotiate slowly. Then 50 plus 20, rejected. Finally, we got to their price. I know Chelsea have more money than us, but in the final day, and I heard the interviews of Shakhtar president, he said the same offer, 70 million guaranteed plus 30 add-ons. The same offer, Arsenal as Chelsea. The difference is that Chelsea was ruthless enough to travel and to sit with Shakhtar officials for 9 consecutive hours and struck the deal. The payment, the structure of the payment for the 70 million were convincing more than us, and the 30 million add-ons were more achievable than Arsenal. It's whom to blame for Chelsea, for Modric failure deal. Why he didn't fly instead of Chelsea before and struck the deal? We have money, but we must be ruthless to struck successfully our prime targets. When I was waiting, and you said this breaking news that Chelsea now closed the Enzo Fernandez deal, a really bad feeling, because We are top of the league, not Chelsea. And Chelsea getting Modric over us, and then Enzo Fernandez, two of the top young talent in the world, not only in Europe. Why Arsenal fans deserve at least one of them. We are now top of the league. We didn't sit on this position for many years. So failing with Modric deal is all about Edo for me. Then about Trossard, I told you before, 1 year ago, 1.5, 2 years ago, I love Trossard, and I was.
You must be buzzing then we got him.
Yes, for me, I said to you, he'll be a fantastic addition to for us. And you said to me, okay, he's good player, but maybe we can get better. Okay, now I'm very happy with Trossard, but concerning the midfield, why we are waited until Al-Nini injury to move like last summer? Exactly, Tom. Okay, El-Nini injured, and we had 7 or 8 days or more to the January closer for Caicedo. Another small point, but it's important. And Tom, you didn't mention it about Caicedo. You said that okay, Arsenal gave 660 and 70 and what to do more and Brighton. But the main point you didn't mention, why we moved for Caicedo 4 days or 5 days only before the closure of the window. This is the main point.
I did say that, to be fair. I said we've been too slow. I said in reflection, the Mudryk deal is, I look at it as a mistake because, and the reason why I look at it as a mistake now is because the amount of money we've bid for Caicedo after spending £49 million on Kivior and Trossard, it clearly means we have the money. So why didn't we go in and just buy Mudryk? Because the money's there. That's the big issue for me in this window, is that there's no defense for us not getting Mudryk. There's none. You can't. When we missed out on Mudryk and I came on the phone-in show, I was completely unaware of how much money we had, right? And if we're going to go and bid 70 million euros guaranteed plus 20 something in add-ons, which was slightly short of Chelsea's, I'm sorry, but I hold my hands up from that phone-in show. You can go an extra 10 million euros if you are then going to try and bid an absurd amount of money for Caicedo just less than a week or just over a week or so later. So
yes,
there is contradiction in this window from Arsenal. There is mistakes from Edu in this window. I'm absolutely holding my hands up to say that.
Believe me, Tom, believe me, if we bid for Caicedo at the beginning of the window, Brighton will sell because they have all the time
maybe
to get him.
Maybe
it's logic. But in the final days, they said no. So no is no. Why Edo kept first bid, then negotiation, then second bid, and they said no, and the window came to closure. Where is our option?
Are you done with him now? Are you done with him?
No. Just to have. I think he and Arteta are doing a great job. But these specific points, Tom, are important to mention.
Yeah, I agree.
Because to learn from in the future and about the midfielders, Arsenal could go to Brighton. He is on the market or not? He's not on the market. Okay, I will see my choices, and my choices, Mohammed choices, is Onana, and I think Onana for 50 million we can get him. For me, Yunus Musa, I'm convinced that he's a huge talent. I know he's playing 6 and 8. He can play 6. He played at the World Cup with the US at the number 6 position. He was fantastic. I think for me, he's only 20, our academic graduate. For me, I see him a long-term replacement for Partey. The third name, he was available at the beginning of the window, Sufyan Amrabat. Fiorentina set 40 million euros price for him. Today, Barcelona tried to sign him. Fiorentina said no, not on deadline day. He was available at the beginning of the window. So Onana, Yunus Musa, Amrabat, the third choices for me, and maybe Tielemans come after them. So
Maybe.
so for me, those choices, Tom, would be achievable in this window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, and yes.
I was just saying, I take on board the points, and I think that what I liked when I said to you, are you Edu out based upon everything that, because I think you've raised valid criticisms and you said no. But I like that because not because obviously it agrees with the position I'm in, but because you can be critical without going A, mad, and B, without raising silly points.
No,
C,
I want Edu to continue his job with Arteta.
And that's why I value the opinion. That's why I value the criticism.
From our errors, from our mistakes. We can't be not ruthless enough because now money is flooding the transfer market. And if we are, Tom, my feeling is that if we are top of the league and we can't get one or two huge or top signing or primary, when we will get it? When? And Chelsea, okay, they have money, but they are 10th in the league, and they are getting Enzo Fernandez and Modric. Really, really hard feeling. Really. Yeah. And to close for next, I hope we will continue doing well in the second part of the season. But concerning the summer transfer window, for me, I hope to see either Caicedo or Rice. For me, I can't see both of them.
That'd be pretty incredible if we did, yeah.
Yes. I think it's not realistic. For one of them at the number 6, we must try to get one of them. And left side, left center back, left midfield in Xhaka place. For me, Maddison is a dream signing for me. And Newcastle wanted him this window and last window, and they will return to him next window. So for me, Maddison, the place of Xhaka, to compete with him, we must look at him, and either Rice or Caicedo and number 6. And for me, adding also another explosive winger, Modric type between practices in the attacking department, maybe Fresneda, to be more complete team, and to compete, Tom, for all the titles. We must be ruthless, going for the top targets and getting them, not to fail time after time. So,
if we win the league this season, there is no excuse for Arsenal not getting their top target in the summer. You know, you've got the reputation, you've got the financial side of things, because we didn't spend the big money on Caicedo now, so it's still going to be there in the summer. You know, you're going to have arguably more money because we'll have Champions League football guaranteed for next season. You're looking at selling Pepe, Maitland-Niles, potentially following Balogun, potentially Kieran Tierney, Sambi Lokonga, Nuno Tavares. You know, we might have a lot of money to spend in the summer still. There's no excuse not to get those top targets. Mohammed,
you reminded me of the Sambi point. For me, it's a big mistake to let Sambi now leave.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
Now,
I get it.
Me,
there's only one reason that he can go. There's only one reason why I think he can go, and that's because he's clearly unhappy, and they don't necessarily want an unhappy squad member. That's the only reason I can think of to let him go.
Number-wise, Tom, we were waiting for another midfield because El Neni got injured. So we got him, and we allowed Sambi to move out. So we are still short number-wise in midfield. So to be more cover and more depth enough, I prefer that Sambi will continue until the end of the season, and next season, okay, move him out, loan him, or even sell him next season. But now it's a dangerous situation at a critical point in the season. So we are short. El Neni will be absent for maybe 2 months or 3 months. So it's a danger. Just Jorginho and Partey. So this point, and the point, Tom, you raised, even God forbid if we don't win the league, we are on successful track now.
Yeah, a progressive path.
So even next summer we will be attractive team, attractive club for players, because they saw this season what we have done on the pitch and off the pitch. Youngest squad in the league, great result, great performances. So I hope we win the dream title, and even if not, we came to a good point, and we must not look behind us. So the Jorginho deal, we thought that we learned from our mistakes, Tom, that we committed in the last few years, getting Lichtsteiner, Socrates, Willian, the players 30 plus. So for some fans, including me, I think it's maybe it's a backward step, not a forward step.
Okay.
So
I don't see it that. I do see it as a forward step. I think that, you know, Jorginho is much better than El Neni, and I think he's much better than Lokonga to come in to replace Partey. And I think that at the start of the window, we set out knowing that we needed a midfielder and we knew that we needed a forwards. And very few of us asked for it, but we probably did need a backup left centre back, a competitive option at left centre back. And I think we've gone out and achieved those three things. They're not the players that we wanted primarily, and that's a problem that hopefully will be addressed in the summer. But if you compare this window to January of 2022, where we made mistakes that ultimately cost us Champions League qualification, I think we've done what we've done. We've tried in this window to do business, which is going to push on to the title. Mohammed, I am going to have to wrap things up there. Thank you so much for coming on. Very briefly, I want a one-word answer. Out of 10, what would you rate the window?
6.5 for you. Trossard is the main deal for us this winter. I have pleasure to talk with you, and hope to talk with you also always, Tom, soon. All the best, success for you and for Harry also.
Of course. Thank you, Mohammed. Much appreciate your time, mate, as always. Thank you. Much appreciate all of our guests that have come on today's phone-in show. Appreciate everybody that takes the time to jump on. Thank you for the kind comments that I've seen going in the chat. But a couple of super chats quickly. Rahul said, would have loved Arsenal to make a run for Enzo Fernandez. Wow, 120 million euros would have been a hell of an investment to see that happen. Zakaria says, no Partey alternative. Jorginho and Xhaka as 2 6s with Martin Odegaard as 10. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, if Partey's out, that obviously seems like the group that it would be. Whether or not it would be as 2 6s, I don't know. I think Jorginho has obviously played deep six on his own for some time already at Chelsea and for Italy, to be fair, as well. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll only know if this has been a successful window come the end of the season. We will only know if this window was a success, if whatever happens with Partey, if he gets injured, if he comes in and he covers him well, if he makes mistakes, if he's not good enough, it would change how we view this window. And so it's very unfair of me to always ask people for their ratings out of 10 for windows because we don't know what's going to happen. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I'm excited the window's closed because it means that this kind of chaos is not going to be there. But the 8 a.m. shows will, of course, still be there. If you've made that a part of your morning routines, don't fear. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. to discuss, of course, the fallout from deadline day and look ahead to the game against Everton at the weekend. Mikel Arteta's press conference is on Friday. I'm going to be there, so it'll be interesting to ask Arteta some stuff about the fallout to the window as well. So yes, lots of stuff to be excited about, lots of games to come. Thank you everybody for listening. I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.